by Manny Machado. A Rocket grand slam. 4-0 Baltimore.
A 2-run home run by Jose Abreu.
Jose's got plenty of pop to get it out of any park in the country. Might include Yellowstone, but this one was just high up there and 4 or 5 feet over the wall.
It's another one. That ball is long gone over the left field bleachers, and Jairo Munoz has done it.
Hey everyone, welcome to 1225 Live. My name is Alexa Datt. We got the Cubbies who are trying to win their second World Series in 3 years, and they're giving a lot of advice this spring to some of their younger guys, but they're also talking about how Kris Bryant and Yu Darvish need to get healthy because the injury bug or the flu bug has bitten both of these guys. So we'll talk to Kelly Kroll of NBC Sports Chicago about that in just a little bit when she joins us. We're also going to talk to Anthony Castrovince because he believes if the Blue Jays rotation is healthy, that they could be the best rotation in the AL East, not the Red Sox rotation. So that could be pretty interesting to see how that all turns out. Plus, Gary Sanchez absolutely stole the spotlight at Yankees camp the other day away from Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton with a monster home run. We'll talk all about that today on the show. But we welcome back our social savant, Danny Wexelman is here. Danny!
Hi.
Danny Wexelman really is what we should be calling you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm not going to lie. I miss the sun, but there's really nowhere else I would want to be than here with you doing this show. So I'm so excited to be back. It's Thursday. We have such a great show today. So many great things to talk about, and I'm just happy to see your face.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you too, and you gave us such good content when you took your talents down there to South Beach. LeBron did it too, and Michael A. Taylor followed suit because for our spring training photo of the day, this is what we got, and the Nationals captioning it perfectly, talking about taking your talents to South Beach. I mean, what an awesome photo there as he robs what I think is a home run, if not that, at least extra bases.
Man, Nats fans have to be so pumped about this guy and what he's going to be able to do, not only in the field, but with his bat. He's tall and slender. He has that build that you wouldn't look at him and be like, this guy can hit bombs, but he can hit bombs and he can steal home runs. So he's super exciting right now.
Yeah, he's super fast, and we'll have to see, how that outfield plays out this year when Adam Eaton is fully healthy and he returns. So that'll be interesting. Bartolo Colon is going to make his Rangers debut today, which will be super fun. We love Big Sexy. We love talking about this guy. They're taking on the Padres in their Cactus League action. You already know that he is a guy that we literally talk about almost every day on the show. He made his MLB debut on April 3rd in 1997. There's a second baseman for the Padres, Luis Urias, who was born on June 3rd of 1997. Literally, Big Sexy's like, yo, son, I've been working longer than you've been alive. Take notes and respect your elders. Enjoy the show.
It blows my mind that that's a thing, and I really hope that somebody tells Bartolo that that is a thing. Maybe they'll get a photo together, and we can share that tomorrow. But another guy who is a fan of Big Sexy is Brent Honeywell, who unfortunately just underwent some Tommy John surgery. You can see him there with Dr. Andrews, but he's also rocking a Big Sexy shirt, channeling Bartolo Colon, trying to be just like this guy, having the longest career ever and successful at that. So Brent Honeywell rocking that Big Sexy shirt, always a cool guy.
Yeah, looks awesome there in that shirt, and hopefully his rehab goes well. We're all rooting for you, Honeywell, for sure.
That's right.
All right, we want to talk also about this awesome letter that you saw from Jordan Hicks, who's a Cardinals pitcher in their organization, and he wrote it to his future self when he was 14 years old. I'm basically going to summarize this for you. He said, I love my life, I make semi-good grades, I've got an awesome family, and I play baseball. My family is huge to me because they teach me a lot, and baseball is extremely important to me, and I want to make it to the major leagues one day. I want to be on that huge green grass field with thousands of fans shouting my name when I catch a ball in the outfield or hit a home run. My mom and dad would be my #1 fan. If I don't make it to the majors, though, I want to be a lawyer. And he said, because lawyers get good money, and isn't that the truth? So that was pretty cool. He also said he could maybe be a trainer one day for young athletes. I mean, this guy had it all laid out at 14, and I thought that was pretty cool because I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was 14. I was like coloring in coloring books still, I think.
Coloring inside the lines, right? Still working on that skill?
Hopefully, yeah, still working on that skill.
The best part of that letter, too, is he starts it saying, hi, I am Jordan Hicks, as if you would, forget who he was in 7 years. So that's awesome. It's such a good story, which leads us to our question of the day, because it's World Book Day. So we are asking you guys, if your team could write a book this year, what would be the title?
Ooh.
So you could take it a couple of different ways. You could think about what the title is before the season starts, or maybe you want to write the title for their storybook ending of a season. So let us know. Head to Facebook now. What is the title of your team's book this year? We're going to read those comments at the end of the show.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Danny.
You're welcome.
So happy to have you back.
Good to see you.
All right. Time to talk to Anthony Castrovins right now about a couple of sleeper picks he has coming up this season, as well as what do spring training home runs actually mean, Castro? You're going to fill us in on that as well. But let's start with some of your sleeper picks. Baseball world has been obsessed with the Yankees lineup, right? We're talking all about Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez, but you've got a sleeper lineup that you think people should be paying more attention to. Who's that?
Yeah, the Oakland A's. They were one of the most productive lineups in baseball in the second half last season. Matt Chapman and Matt Olson on their infield quarters made a huge impact down the stretch. Didn't get much attention because obviously the A's were out of contention, and on the West Coast on top of that. So a lot of power there. Chris Davis is usually good for 40 home runs, and Stephen Piscotty is an interesting pickup there. He's had success in the past with the Cardinals, and hopefully in a better family position situation this year, being closer to his ailing mother, and then a lot of youth. Some interesting guys in their system. Franklin Barreto. They just have. I just see it as a very powerful lineup, basically, in a league that's obviously full of power. And again, an easy lineup to overlook. Probably an easy team to overlook when you think about the depth of their bullpen, some young arms in rotation. I'm not saying they're going to be contenders this year for sure, but I think it's a really easy team to overlook and maybe not factor in a lot of upside that could potentially lead them in the wild card chase.
All right, so maybe we pay a little bit more attention to those A's. How about the AL East? A lot of people are saying if the Red Sox stay healthy, they could be the best rotation in the division. But you think if the Blue Jays stay healthy, they are going to be the best rotation in the division. Why?
Yeah, and we're not off to a great start with Marcus Stroman's shoulder inflammation, but it's inflammation, it's not structural, so hopefully, that all turns out all right. But yeah, I mean, we know what Stroman did last year. We know what Aaron Sanchez did 2 years ago, and of course had the blister issues last year. So if those two guys are healthy, we've yet to see them both healthy and at their best at the same time. If we see that, that's a really dynamic 1-2 punch, and then a really strong group beyond them with Jay Happ and Marco Estrada. Estrada and Happ in a contract year. And then Jaime Garcia was a nice value pickup for them for the fifth spot. A guy can give you quality innings. And then Joe Biagini is converting from their bullpen most likely to be starting depth for them. So, yeah, I think really it's about Stroman and Sanchez being healthy at the same time. And hopefully we get to see that this year because I think both those guys could be real studs.
Yeah, and this team really underperformed last year, and a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads wondering why. So maybe we get the old Blue Jays back. That'd be nice to see. In the NL Central, the Cardinals bullpen was obviously not one of their strengths last year, but you have them as the sleeper pick this year. Why?
Well, just a sleeper pick in regards to everybody clamoring for them to add a proven closer, and I get it. I mean, Greg Holland would lengthen that bullpen considerably, and fans would feel better about their outlook with perhaps Holland in the ninth inning as opposed to Luke Gregerson, who lost the closing job in Houston a couple years back. But I do see some interesting weapons in that bullpen. Dominic Leone, who they acquired in the Randall Grichuk trade from the Blue Jays, is a guy who had really good numbers last year, and could be kind of a sleeper closer. We've seen the Cardinals stumble into closing help in years past, and it could happen again with Leone or somebody else. But Alex Reyes, of course, coming back from surgery, whether he's in the rotation or the bullpen is yet to be exactly determined, but the bullpen's a possibility for him. The closing role could be a possibility for him before the end of the year. And they have just a lot of optionable guys who can go up and down from AAA, which is important to have a successful bullpen over the course of a season. You mix and match guys over the course of the year just to survive the length of the season. I'm not saying it's one of the best bullpens in baseball, but I am saying it's a bullpen that's kind of been easy to pick on this winter because they lost some pieces from what was, really not a great unit statistically last year. But, there is some upside contained within and some flexibility contained within. So they could piece together something nice.
All right, Castro, we can file these next two topics under do spring training home runs really matter, but we're going to pretend they do anyway and ask you what you thought was more impressive between these two feats yesterday. Cardinals prospect who hit 2 home runs in 1 inning, or Byron Buxton who robbed a home run and then hit a home run in the same inning.
Yeah, well, listen, this being spring training, it would be fun to go with the 2 home runs in the same inning. And in fact, I was at the Hall of Fame the other day, and they showed us the bat Carlos Baerga used to hit from both sides of the plate in the same inning. So that's special. But I'm going with Byron Buxton just because, first of all, I love watching Byron Buxton play, and I'll always go with the two-way talent, so to speak, guy doing it, both in the field and then at the plate. That's pretty special stuff. So that was fun to see yesterday.
Yeah, it was pretty cool too. And we're seeing this kind of all over the place this spring, but it just reminds me, man, baseball is back, and I'm so excited when this stuff actually is going to start to count, but it still gets me excited to watch. All right, it was supposed to be the Judge and Stanton show the other day at Yankees camp, but Gary Sanchez went ahead and stole the spotlight with one of the loudest home runs I think I've ever heard. So what does that mean for this Yankees lineup?
Yeah, Kraken was cracking. I think it just goes to show what we've been saying through the winter. It's like, yeah, it's easy to get the hype and get distracted by Judge and Stanton and then forget just how deep that lineup can be beyond them. And, there's a not unrealistic scenario where Gary Sanchez out homers one or both of those guys this year. There's a not unrealistic scenario where Sanchez and or Greg Bird, go down as the Yankees' best hitters in 2018, even with Stanton and Judge in the mix. It's not terribly unrealistic. So, and that's why you love and hate the Yankees, right? It's just there's so many weapons there. They could very easily surpass the major league record for home runs by a team, and it's easy to forget the absolute tear Sanchez was on late in 2016. And he had stretches last year after coming back from the injury, but he was coming back from the injury last year. So I think a healthy Sanchez and slimmed down a little bit. He could be a really productive player for them this year. Yeah,
that's a good hot take, Castro, that Sanchez will hit more home runs than Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. And you're
I didn't
right.
say will. I said he could.
No, I'm saying it is a good hot take if you were to take that as a hot take. Not that it's your hot take, but it's a good one.
I'm not that bold.
Not yet. Lance Lynn and the Phillies have been in touch in recent weeks. John Morosi, though, said earlier today something that I think surprised everyone when the Phillies were entertaining signing 2 free agents this offseason, not just talking to one. What's the latest here?
Yeah, well, and the Phillies' public comments have been pretty consistent that, we're not going to extend ourselves too far. They obviously are trying to win here in 2018 more than they have in recent years past, but they're not trying to blow up their slow and steady progression here as well from a financial standpoint. But obviously, as JP's tweet indicates, they have so much financial flexibility both this year and moving forward that they could definitely do that. And I think they should do that. I think it would become a really interesting team really quickly because that lineup, Rhys Hoskins was kind of like the Gary Sanchez of 2017, going crazy from a home run perspective in the last couple months of the season as a rookie. And they added Carlos Santana, a nice switch hitting presence that lengthens that lineup quite a bit. They could have a really good lineup. They could have a really good bullpen. They got a lot of options back there with Pat Neshek coming back and Tommy Hunter added. But the rotation just has a ton of question marks, a lot of youth and perhaps some upside, but also some risk as well. And Aaron Nola could be a real weapon at the top end of the rotation, but beyond him, there's not much in the realm of certainty. So I'd love to see them go out and get an Arrieta or a Lynn, or sure, why not both? I don't think that's especially realistic. I know they've been kind of far apart on years with Arrieta, as have a lot of teams. When he wants a 6 or 7 year deal at age 32, that's tough to pull off. But so maybe Lynn makes more sense, maybe Alex Cobb. But I'd love to see them add a starter, definitely. Do you feel like Jake Arrieta is getting closer to finding a landing spot? Well, by definition, he's closer, right? Every day he's closer, but it doesn't seem like he's going to end up with what he wants. I say that, you could always be surprised in these markets. And, Eric Hosmer got the 8-year deal that he wanted, so maybe Jake Arrieta will get the 6 or 7 years that he wants. But it's hard for me to imagine he'll get the Yu Darvish contract. It'll probably be short of that. And it's out there, man. His stuff has diminished over the last couple of years, and that's very real. And it's impossible to ignore at his age. So whereas Yu Darvish's stuff has maintained post Tommy John. So that's where the dollar equation ultimately comes in. Arrieta, I'd love to see him go to a team like the Nationals or the Brewers or the Twins. A team trying to take that next step. I'd also, maybe even more so, love to see him go to the Washington Nationals as a team that has a great rotation already and makes it a really dynamic weapon for a club that needs to advance in October for the first time. So I still lean toward him going to Washington, but any of those clubs I just mentioned are candidates.
Yeah, Gio Gonzalez is also a free agent at the end of this year, so
right.
I think it could be a little bit more about that as well. But yeah, you're right. They feel like they need to win, and the time is now. So adding Jake Arrieta could be huge for that squad. Castro, you hung out with Jim Thome at the Hall of Fame up in Cooperstown. What was that like for you?
It was awesome. One of the coolest things I've gotten to do in this business, and there's been a lot of cool things, but this was right up there. Because he's such a good guy, and he's such a pleasant guy. And just seeing his reaction throughout the hall was so genuine. His genuine excitement to be there and to be a member of that fraternity. And he'd been to the Hall of Fame several times in the past, but it was very real and fresh for him to be considered part of that group. And to see him there with Babe Ruth's bat doing the Jim Thome / Roy Hobbs pose. That was a really cool moment. And that moment right there, that gentleman had just, basically put it in perspective that, your plaque's going to be 20 yards away from Babe Ruth's plaque. How's that feel? And he got really emotional at that thought. And that was the way it was for him all day. So I'm really happy for him and really excited for him to go in July. Excited for his family. They're going to have a couple hundred people there with them for the induction. His wife told me it's like their wedding all over again as far as planning and that sort of thing. So, and that it was so cool to see it through a fresh Hall of Famer's eyes, to see that building through their eyes, because we go through this process every year of arguing about who should go in and what the vote total should be and all that stuff, and then to see what it in real human terms what it means to somebody. Was really special. Did
he give you any sort of hint or clues as to what's going to go into his Hall of Fame speech?
Well, he said he's begun to work on it, and his wife Andrea is a published author, so he's got and a former media member, so he's got some help there, as far as tightening it up and whatnot. But we were talking about it on our morning lineup podcast today, Richard Justice and I, that Jim Thome is going to be an absolute puddle when it comes time to deliver that speech. I think him and Jack Morris are my clear candidates to, just be weeping messes on the stage. And there's nothing wrong with that. It'd be fun to watch, actually, because that you want it to mean something to these guys, and it does.
Absolutely. All right, we got one fan question, Castro, before we let you go, from Justin. He wants to go back to talking about the Yankees because it seems like everyone does this season. Do you think the Yankees are good, or do they really need to add a starter?
Well, I don't think they need to add a starter right now. I think it's very likely they will add a starter during the season, though. And we know there's some injury risk in that rotation. CC Sabathia up there in years, of course, and has had knee issues in the past. And Masa Tanaka, pitching with that partial tear, you never know what could happen there. And maybe some regression for a guy like Jordan Montgomery, from a really standout rookie year. So things can happen, with that club. But I don't mind them going into the season with the group they got. Now they do have the flexibility under the luxury tax threshold to perhaps sign a Lance Lynn or an Alex Cobb, but I think they're better served to go with the 5 they've got, because they do have 5 they got a legitimate rotation as we sit here today, and to just see what develops over the course of the year, because we know they're going to have the payroll flexibility again under the luxury tax threshold, and then moving beyond 2018, and B, the prospect pieces to pull off whatever trade needs to be pulled off at that point.
All right, sounds good. If you want to check out any of Castro's amazing writing or any of his amazing speaking as well, you can check out the Morning Lineup podcast on MLB.com. Castro, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Amazing speaking. That is perhaps overselling it, Alexa. Thank you very much.
The Kraken is cracking, man. That's all I got today. So good. I love it.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya. Danny, we started a new segment while you were gone.
Wait, by the way, we didn't
trying to get some English out here.
It's okay. I'm gonna help you for a second.
Yeah.
It's March 1st.
Yes.
So 28 days until opening day.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't say that.
Oh, we need to say that. Hopefully all baseball fans know that already, but if you don't,
in case,
Danny is here to help you guys out.
I'm here. I know my days and I know math. And like I said, the past 2 days I was on that top secret shoot. So be looking out for that because it has to do with opening day.
Yes, I'm excited for that.
Yes.
All right, yesterday was supposed to be the Judge and Stanton show. Gary Sanchez stole that spotlight, and that was pretty cool to see. Also, Manny Machado continuing his scorching hot spring, and Byron Buxton is still really fast. This is our, in case you missed it, 3 things you missed from spring training yesterday. Take a look.
Well, Manny has a chance. Bases loaded and nobody out. That ball's crushed, left field, back it goes, and that ball is gone. There's a grand slam for Manny Machado and a 4-0 Orioles lead.
He's trying to run the ball in on him. Look how quick this bat is.
Crone lifts this one into left center field. Long run. Rosario. Buxton back on the track. Buxton jumps up. We've seen that catch before. Timed it perfectly. Jumped up right near the top of the fence.
There are some people still picking up the newspaper to find that out. And Sanchez destroys that to left field. A clobbered home run over the scoreboard for Gary Sanchez.
Norris missed with the location, and that ball was in a distant location when it landed.
If you missed the sound of that bat, that ball hitting that bat, Danny, that was pretty cool, right, to hear. The cracking.
I love it. I love it so much. It gets me pumped. I can't wait for the season. 28 days.
Yeah, 28 days. All right. Thanks, Danny.
Yep.
All right, time for us to head to Chicago now and welcome in NBC Sports Chicago Cubs reporter Kelly Krull, who is joining us for the first time on the show, making her 12:25 live debut. Hey, Kelly, how are you?
Hey, Alexa, great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the Cubs announcing their starting rotation for opening day. This is going to be pretty interesting. Jon Lester won. Then you got Kyle Hendricks, Yu Darvish, Jose Quintana, and Tyler Chatwood. What was your reaction when you heard the order of operations?
Yeah, to be honest, it was pretty expected, I thought. Jon Lester getting the nod there with opening day, 3rd for the Cubs, 7th overall. And that's kind of, I mean, when he's at his best, it makes sense. He's the veteran on that rotation. You put him up there. We saw what he did in 2016, the 2.44 ERA by the end of the year, the second best in the league, only to the guy the Cubs have slotted in at number 2, Kyle Hendricks, who, after seeing a little dip in his velo to begin the year last year, he really straightened things out towards the end. No reason to think anything would fall from Hendricks in this season. Certainly healthy and feeling refreshed. And then you got Yu Darvish in the 3-hole, one of the best, or I should say just the 3rd in the rotation, one of the best in the game, and that's who the Cubs turn to for that. It's pretty special. And then Jose Quintana, I think, is one of the most underrated in the game. I think a lot of people do, but the Cubs and Q himself are pretty much okay with that because he's got room to grow, and they like seeing him then. And then Tyler Chatwood, a guy really no one's talking about, but a quality arm, and there he is as their 5th starter. And I think that this rotation right now stacks up as one of the best in the game, and the Cubs are looking forward to just getting these guys out there. Certainly they were looking forward to see Yu Darvish making his spring debut today, which won't be happening, but I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, he was scratched with that stomach bug. I know the team probably isn't too concerned. I know Chris Bryant is also dealing with the stomach bug. But, Yu Darvish is brought in to replace Jake Arrieta, who won a Cy Young with this team and a World Series. So we know what Jake Arrieta, brought to this Cubs squad. But what does that mean that Darvish is, basically tasked with replacing?
Yeah, well, a lot, obviously, but he certainly can fill those shoes. We know how good he is. We've seen that. The Cubs know firsthand, facing him in the NLCS a year ago, and he just ran right through him. So, I mean, this guy, arguably, Alexa, has the best stuff of any of the guys on the Cubs rotation. And so I think that for him, having spoken to Chris Jimenez, who, right now is looking to make the squad as the backup catcher, worked a lot with Darvish in Texas, had said to me he still thinks the best is yet to come with Darvish. And if that's the case, I mean, the Cubs have really found themselves a gem here in the offseason, and they did it how they wanted to do it with the contract and the money that they were willing to, delve out for a guy like this. So I think it'll be really interesting to see if he can take his game to the next level, because certainly that's what they'll need from him. And maybe something that some people aren't talking about, the depth now of the rotation means a guy like Mike Montgomery, who could start for a lot of MLB teams, every single one of them, is the 6th man in that rotation, and a guy that they can have swing both ways. And when you have a lefty out of the bullpen who can come in and spot start and also eat up some innings for you, that's saying something about the 5 you are running out every day.
Yeah, the depth of this rotation is really impressive. I want to talk about Brandon Morrow, who they added in the offseason, who was the Dodgers setup man. This is going to be pretty cool. What are your first impressions of him and what his impact on this team is going to be?
Well, he's a very insightful guy. That's the first thing I noticed when talking to him in the clubhouse. He sees all. He's certainly very observant. Now, the one thing you're going to watch with the Cubs, this is a guy we probably won't see for another maybe week or so, because he did pitch in every single game of the World Series. I think Joe Maddon and the coaching staff are really trying to give him as much time as they can to rest, recover, and get that arm feeling the best it can, because they watched what happened a year ago with some of their best pitchers, and some of the guys coming out of the bullpen just didn't have, they weren't as crisp, just didn't have kind of the speed or, again, crispness they were looking for on some of their pitches. So with Brandon Morrow, I mean, most of what I've seen so far was really great, but it's hard to tell this early. But as a guy, I really enjoy talking to him in the clubhouse. So it's certainly nice to have another arm like that, and a guy that you enjoy hearing from, and that is so insightful when it comes to what's going on in the game and facing different hitters. I know there were a number of Cubs guys who said they're really glad he's on their team now.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about Kris Bryant, the fact that he is dealing with this stomach bug as well. I know that Joe Maddon was saying he needs to start eating solid foods and keeping them down before he comes back to camp, and I feel bad, man. This guy, he really wants to be there, I'm sure. When you talked to him before he was sick, though, what was he saying about his goals that he is setting for himself this season?
Yeah, well, no one sets, as a lot of these guys will tell you, right? No one sets goals any higher than they do for themselves. And I think for Kris, one of the things that he certainly mentioned was staying healthy. That's what you hear from a lot of guys. I really believe this stomach bug is making its rounds. Alexa, I'm sure you've heard from other reporters and people who are in camps. I know the Dodgers, a bunch of their guys are dealing with this. I don't know what's going on, but certainly Kris Bryant is dealing with it, as is Yu Darvish right now. And I think that, getting them healthy right now, solid food's a great little message there from Joe. I love when he goes into stuff like that. But for KB, I know that, individually his goals are just to, how do you get any better than what he's done the last 3 years? But from a consistency standpoint and facing certain guys, he'd like to see some results. And when it came to the playoffs, I think he felt like he was gassed. He was one of the few guys who admitted to basically being tired in October. And for him, this offseason was a lot about just resting and then getting back after weights and some of the cardio and feeling like he was his best self, if you will, before going into this season.
Kelly, I think I'm the most interested to see what Kyle Schwarber is going to do this year. He enters camp 20 pounds lighter. He now doesn't have to wear that knee brace anymore, which I think is going to be huge for him. How do you think those changes will impact him this year?
Well, I think defensively, you're going to see it right away, Alexa. I mean, he's quicker. He talks about his explosiveness. And for him in the field, that's going to be huge. Now, one thing I think he did try to temper people's expectations as to what he might do at the plate, because just because you've lost 20 pounds doesn't mean that that's going to translate into all of a sudden your batting average being a lot better, right? But I do think he feels like in the field, he's already been able to, make some adjustments, and he's been working so hard. I think even maybe more so than just the results initially is what his teammates have seen from the dedication, right, that he put in this offseason and what that means, which nobody questioned his work ethic. Certainly Kyle Schwarber is one of the hardest workers on the team. But I think you're defensively where people saw that as maybe a weakness for him. He's done as much as he can to be in the best shape and now go out there and figure out the rest.
All right, sounds good. I don't know about you, but Javier Baez, I think, is my favorite Cub to follow on social media. This guy has so much fun, even just in the weight room lifting weights. The magician, he's really getting jacked, and he's more impressed with himself, I think, than anyone else, which I love. One glance, by the way, at that WBC no-look tag tells us why he is everything that he is. How much fun is this guy to cover throughout the season?
He's a blast, and I don't know, he may just be showing off the artwork on his arms there, right? I'm not sure if it was that or the weights he was lifting, but he's a total blast. And one of the things about Javi, I was just saying the other day to somebody, he has come so far when it's people like you and I that talk to him. When he first came to the Cubs, I mean, we're talking 5- and 6-word answers. I just don't think he felt completely comfortable yet. Maybe it was the language barrier a little bit. But now he is one of the most conversational and just entertaining human beings and really authentic. I think sometimes the flashiness, people who aren't Cubs fans, and I get it, think he's being a little demonstrative maybe out there or too flashy, but it's just him having fun. I mean, if there's anybody who loves the game, Javier Baez has to be at the top of that list for MLB players out there. He just really loves what he's doing and is grateful for the opportunity to play all the time. We went through just a couple days ago and did a tagging demonstration with him, and he talked about some of his favorite tags that he's ever had. And he loves it. I think he loves the defensive side of the game, maybe even more so than standing there in the box. But I know he's had a few walk-offs that he really loves as well. So he's just a captivating player out there and fun to watch every night. You know, Javi Baez has probably got something up his sleeve that you're going to remember when you leave the ballpark.
So wait, where did he say that no-look tag ranks in his favorite tags?
Oh, way up there. And I think part of it was because Molina was involved with it. Yep. And just he wanted people to know he wasn't like calling it out that he'd already gotten out, but rather he just felt like that was him giving props and he just knew it was coming. So it was really great. That's not to do too much pubbing, but that's on NBCSportsChicago.com, that tagging demonstration. We had a blast with Javier Baez that afternoon. He went through a lot of really great things. And for any young player entering the game that wants to be in the middle of the infield, I mean, I don't know who you would enjoy watching more necessarily than him. I mean, there's a lot of really great shortstops out there as well and second baseman, but he's got to be, I think, at the top of the list of young players watching the game right now. Yeah, that's pretty cool. The other video, by the way, that I saw NBC Sports Chicago tweet out was you picking out who you believe are your favorite leadoff hitters for the Cubs. I know that's a huge topic of conversation. We've seen Ian Happ hit a couple home runs from that leadoff spot. Albert Morrow Jr. is also trying out that spot as well. What is Joe Maddon saying about this spot, and who do you think is going to be their leadoff hitter? Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably the biggest question still remaining. And I think Ian Happ's just the guy that certainly got out of the gates the quickest with his audition. Of course, 2 leadoff home runs in just 3 games. But I still think, I mean, from a defensive standpoint, Joe is going to want to have Almora in the game quite a bit. So you're probably going to see a lot of, I mean, Ian's a switch hitter and Almora still has a lot of work to do against lefties, or righties, excuse me. And so I think you're still going to see those guys both be in that leadoff spot. But I think when they're both playing, that'll be when it's really interesting. And then there's always the thought of Ben Zobrist. If he's healthy, I still think the consistency of a guy who's been up there like Zobrist, it makes a lot of sense for the Cubs. He's going to get on base, but you're going to see a lot, I think, of Almora and Happ in that spot. And if I had to pick one right now, it all depends on who's on the mound, but Ian Happ certainly is doing a really good job right now in spring of showing all that he can do in that spot. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. I know Cubs fans absolutely love it. Kelly, you know, you got this Cubs squad who's looking to win their second World Series in 3 years. A lot has to go right, but why do you believe that this year they can get it done? Well, I think just the depth. And if this team stays healthy, you look at that pitching rotation right now on paper, it has to be one of the best in the game. And then you've really got the same core that right here just celebrated it 2 years ago. So if these guys come out and play to the ability that they did 2 years ago, which I think now listening to them in the clubhouse, Alexa, has been the most interesting thing this spring, is what you're hearing is this is a hungry group again. This is a group that is healthy right now. This is a group that is just anxious to get out and show the league what I've heard numerous times, that they're the best team once again. And so I give them the vote of being the team that can do it again, because they have the experience, they have the talent, and if they're healthy, I really think that they can take on anybody in a 7-game series and get it done again. All right, sounds good. By the way, we have our co-host here also went to Mizzou, so she wants me to say M-I-Z to you. Yo, you. There you go. Kelly, thank you so much. Awesome debut here. Really appreciate all the info, and good luck this season. Thanks again for having me on. It's a blast. Love your work. Thank you. All right, Danny, I did it for you, girl. I'm so proud of you. This is what we do. Oh, my gosh. You nailed it. Yeah, you guys are the Mizzou grads. I'm just here for the show. Mizzou Mafia is strong. Yeah. There we go.
All right. By the way, it was so fun because I wanted to maybe ask her about Davey Martinez bringing camels into camp. We showed you guys this yesterday on the show. This is pretty incredible. He's a disciple of Joe Madden, his bench coach there with the Cubbies. He also spent some time with him with the Rays. But they were camels at Nationals camp. They want to confront their getting over the hump demons, so they did it in full force. Nationals closer Sean Doolittle took some extra notice of these camels, Danny.
He did. So he sent this tweet out, and no one would have known that he knew so much about camels until he sent this tweet. He said, can carry the team, talking about the camels, can take the heat, good at taking walks, good speed. I don't know about that one. Team players, Lex.
Yeah, I love that. And they also have good footwork, apparently. They're great clubhouse presence, and they can make adjustments because their nostrils can close to keep out desert sand. The best part was Jamal Collier, our buddy who covers the Nationals, responded to all of this. Like, have you just been waiting all of this time to bust out all of your camel fun facts? When I texted Jamal the other day, I was like, did the camel spit on you? He was like, no, I avoided the spit, but he did poop on one of the backfields. So I was like, all right, no spit, but you did get some doo-doo back there. Somebody had to clean up.
Had to clean that up. Hopefully nobody stepped in that with their spike either. That would be pretty gross too. But so funny, like Sean Doolittle, man. What don't you know?
Right, exactly. Pretty cool. Sean.
Sean. Yes, our question of the day today, Lex.
Yes.
It's World Book Day. So we asked you guys on Facebook if you could create the title of your team's book, your story, what would it be? And you guys came through super clutch today. So I'm going to read through these now. Our friend Justin, Yankees rebuild to contender in a year. Tim, how about 2 out of 3 ain't bad? The Chicago Cubs 2018 World Series.
Oh, I love that.
Champs. Glenn, launched to Pluto by Stanton, Judge, and Sanchez. Jeff, Astros, oops, they did it again. Kay,
Britney Spears reference? Oh my gosh, what year is this?
He's the winner. Kay, Texas Rangers and Bartolo Colon, I'm too sexy. Let's see, Renee, if the Angels wrote a book, the title would be It Took 16 Years, but Finally Back on Top. Dennis, 28 Shades of Blue. Now, Dennis, I don't know which team you're talking about. Maybe it's the Dodgers. Maybe it's the Cubs. Blue Jays? It's the Dodgers. Okay, it's the Dodgers. Did I miss a reference there?
I don't think so.
Rachel, winning the last game, the Dodgers. Doan, Bronx Bombers, the road to 28. And then Justin, the Yankees, the evil empire strikes back. I like that one, too.
I like that one, too, but I think Britney Spears is still my favorite.
Astros, oops, they did it again.
Nicely done.
It was very nice.
All right, our final story here. If you are a new outfielder with the San Francisco Giants, what is the probably number one thing that you really want to do when you get to camp? It's hang out with the Hall of Famer to say, hey, kid, Willie Mays, man. How cool is this? Andrew McCutchen got to sit down with, I'm sure, one of his idols. And the fact that they were just kind of chopping it up there in the clubhouse, pretty amazing. 13 gold gloves between the two of them. Willie Mays has 12 of those gold gloves. So Kutch has a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm sure he'll get there.
A little bit. I think I would be speechless in that moment, and I wouldn't know what to say to a guy like that. I wouldn't even know what to do being in a room with a guy like that. I think I would just be like fixated on everything he was doing.
Yeah, once in a lifetime opportunity to sit down at a round table in a clubhouse and have that conversation. He'll remember that for the rest of his life.
Forever. He's going to rock the orange. You met Willie Mays. I mean, what's next for you, man?
I know.
Big
deal. Things to come.
That's right.
All right, Danny, good Thursday.
Great Thursday. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday.
Yes.
Thank you. And everyone, thank you so much for watching us here today on the show. Thank you so much to Kelly and Castro for joining us and Danny Wexman for making her triumphant return. We were so excited to see her as well. That's going to do it for us here today on 1225 Live. We are back on Friday, so make sure you join us. We're going to talk all about what is going on in spring training and give us all of your takes on what you think could happen in the 2018 season, as well as some info on things you could have missed that happened around the league. So all of that and so much more tomorrow at 1225 Live. We'll see you there.